everybody? This is the next episode of the What's Your Hustle podcast. I have Abby with us from Preslee Real Estate. This is a first.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's very interesting on my end because usually it works where like I'll sit down with somebody and then we'll talk, potential work in the future after. But it's official. You are first the official client that I've had on the podcast. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
But fun. And I think we've talked about it in the past, but this is definitely something that we've wanted to do.
Yeah.
And kind of pick your brain and see how you got started.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
So let's start from the very, very beginning.
Okay.
How did you get into real estate?
So my mom has been a real estate broker for 35 years. She actually just retired. And she was co-owner of a company in town called Preslee Real Estate. And I started off as receptionist there. And that was in 2003. So I had a young son, first real job, besides like Food Line, Dairy Queen, lifeguarding, all that. And
the slew.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting all the clients and customers and hadn't really thought about getting my license. And then I started dating my husband now, Jamie, and he was like, why don't you have your real estate license? And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, things are good. And he's like, oh, you would be great at it. Like, you need to do this. And I was like, oh, single mom. I've got a little boy. Like, when am I going to do this? So he just pushed me to do that. Ended up enrolling at Lord Fairfax Community College, Laurel Ridge now. Like, they had a Tuesday, Thursday night class. And got my license in 2005 and started selling then. Been selling ever since.
Been selling ever since. That's awesome. That's very interesting because is everybody that I've kind of talked to of like how you got started, right?
Yeah.
That's like my number one go-to question. I feel like more times than not, it's been, well, I kind of tested it out and then I realized I really like this and I'm going to kind of pursue this a little bit further. And it sounds like it's something where I guess when you first got started, you saw the importance of like building the relationships with
the clients
and potential home
yeah.
buyers. That's really cool. So, okay. So how long until you kind of took that next step?
The next step after I got my license, which it's a big difference from being at a job 9 to 5, getting a paycheck to being like independent contractor, 1099, only make a paycheck when you sell a house. Yeah. So I was a little nervous to first just dive in. So around the same time, Suzanne Matthews, another broker I work with, opened Property Management Unlimited across the street for just rentals.
Sure.
So I went over there to do I'm going to do rentals. That'll be like a steady income. And I think that I only lasted 6 months because once I had my real estate license, I just started selling. Like my friends' parents would use me and I just got busier and busier. So back across the street to Preslee Real Estate, and I was there till 2017.
I gotcha. So how does that work with rentals? So was it, you're still like helping people get into rentals? Is it more of like, you're just kind of
you're doing both. You're doing helping people get into rentals, and you're also like assisting landlords with putting their property up for lease and
like a property management type company. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, which I feel like there's a lot of people that are getting that now with the Airbnbs and everything, but besides that.
Right.
Okay, so you said until 2017.
Oh, no, I misspoke. 17 years.
Oh, 17 years. Got it.
Around 2021 is when I opened Preslee Real Estate.
Gotcha.
So 2005 to 2021, I was at Sagers. And then I was growing in the sense of my number of transactions and sales per year were growing up to about like 100 transactions a year. So that's a lot of clients to manage as one person. So I kind of brought on, grew a team to have assistants. And at that point, it was kind of almost like, why am I just not doing my own thing? And then that's when we decided to open up Preslee.
That makes sense. No, and it's funny because it's almost like running a business, right? At first, you're very just me. I don't,
Yeah.
you're cutting down on costs.
Mm-hmm.
The more people you bring on, the more
Right.
people you have to pay.
Right.
Side note, I'm going through that currently right now. So
Yeah.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
So was there like a morning you woke up and you're like, that's it. I need to bring in more people, or did it just kind of
It kind of gradually
snowball?
grew.
I gotcha.
I started with having like an assistant, part-time assistant, around, it would have been when Ryson was in kindergarten. So probably around 2015, I started
Okay.
with a part-time assistant. And then like say that she worked, 2 days a week. Then it grew to 3 days a week. And then it was like 5 days a week, but 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it's like I had an assistant for a long time, many years. And then it just got to where like that wasn't cutting it. Jamie got his license. And I think that was in 2017. That's probably where that number came from. So 2017, he got his license just to help me. Like if like tonight I have a showing at 5 in Strasburg, a showing at 6 in Winchester. So like maybe he'd run and do the Winchester one.
Sure.
Yeah. So he was the first, person to help me. We didn't have a team at that point. I just had an assistant, had him. And yeah, it got to where I felt like I didn't want to not be giving my clients the attention they deserved, because I had so many clients, but also what are my options to refer them out to like someone else in my company? Like, I don't know if they're going to be taken care of the way I would take care of them. So I thought it would be better just to like start the team and bring in people to like train the way that I do business. And that all worked out pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those, if the numbers don't lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're growing and seeing the success.
Yeah.
Why not take that same process and bring in
Right.
somebody and kind of show them the ropes, so to speak. No, that's very, very interesting. It's probably exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you've been in the business so long to kind of take a step back and think where you came from and kind of the path to get here. So you then, at that point, you kind of went into more of like the brokerage. I'm pushing my limits on knowledge here because I feel like I know just enough to get myself in trouble. So to be able to
own your own company, like you have to have a broker license.
Okay.
So you have to have more education and take another test and get a different license. They're different from the agent. But also, there's a lot of people out there that have broker licenses and they just work at other companies and they're just associate brokers. And really, they're not, owning the company or running the company, but they've gone through extra training and licensing. So there are people that have their broker license, and I've had mine since 2012.
Okay.
So I just did that because I like to learn and always taking classes and
it's another,
whatnot.
it's more information and more fun stuff.
But I also think like, it's a big difference in owning your own brokerage. Us realtors, we're out there, we're people, we like people, we're good with clients, we're good at what we do. But like owning your own brokerage, then there's like a whole business aspect too. Employees, payroll, management,
taxes,
bills.
all.
And so I don't know. To me, like, I mean, I thank God I have Jamie. We talked about this weekend. Like, he does all that stuff. So I know there's a lot of agents out there that just think, why don't I start my own brokerage? Or why am I giving a broker some of every paycheck when I could just have my own? Well, let me tell you, if I didn't have him, I mean, I don't know how I would be able to like service clients, because it would be a full-time job. Just running that office.
With our interactions and our, work, I picked up on that pretty quickly. Like you're kind of like the face and make sure the front lines are moving, and Jamie's back there doing his thing, making sure numbers, right? And making sure everything's in line and order and organized. But you guys, I feel like you guys work well with doing that, right? So you're very like out there and want to be in front of everybody and talk. And he's,
I don't want my picture taken.
I feel like, he's one of those where he's good with just kind of, steering the ship from his office, which is awesome. And you have that kind of yin and yang,
team,
right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly, I think that helps a lot, because I don't think it would ever get to the point like, oh, you're fighting for who's in front. But, if everybody has their piece and everyone's working towards the same goal, then I feel like that's very...
And know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and don't be afraid to be like, hey, this is all you. And yeah, we do that. So it's been January 2021. So we're at 3 years now, and it's been great so far.
I mean, you guys are doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So let me kind of go back to the beginning of that brokerage decision.
Yeah.
Is that something where you guys kind of came up on it together, or was it something that you kind of put out there, or did maybe he brought it to you?
We definitely thought about it together. I was kind of the push behind it, because I did always see myself as like having my own brokerage.
Yeah.
So he was very supportive and on board. And sometimes if I ever complain, he reminds me this was my decision. Yeah. But yeah, we've been all in together for sure. But I was kind of like, oh, I always like kind of pictured this. And it's, not a legacy just for yourself, but like for your children. And I just like to really be able to like make my own decisions and, run things my way. And I do the training and coaching of the agents, and I really enjoy that.
The face of Preslee. You are Preslee Real Estate.
Yeah.
Which is very, that idea of like having that thing to kind of pass on, that legacy. I think that kind of, it bodes with entrepreneurship, right? So becoming just a real estate agent, you are your own business, but now, as a brokerage, and you have a large team, you have multiple agents that kind of work for Preslee Real Estate, right? Now you're running a business on top of being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
So how have you kind of figured over the years of like how to balance that? Do you kind of separate your schedule, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm an agent, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm running the business? Or do you kind of, what have you figured out to kind of...
Well, I'm a big time blocker on my schedule. So I have time blocked on there for my personal stuff, like working out, exercising, time with the family. Good. And then I have time with clients. And then I also do like agent one-on-ones or employee one-on-ones. And I have time for that on there too. But I mean, I've always worked 7 days a week. I've always gone to Disney World and been on my phone. Like, I'm just used to that lifestyle. We all in my family, like me and Jamie and the kids, like they're probably all going to be entrepreneurs. We're not the normal 9 to 5 work for somebody else type of family. It's just in our personalities, and like the kids get that from both of us. So I'm anxious to see what they get into one day. But
that it's very interesting to kind of talk with people and see like that mindset of, do I just punch a time clock? Or do I kind of, because some people, I mean, for example, I'll give you a little reference. So my dad has worked at the same company for probably maybe 30 years.
Yeah.
He's very content with going in. He does his job extremely well. He knows, like, people always talk about how great he is.
Right.
And so it's one of those where now he has his things outside of work that he does. He runs a Little League organization, which he's done, I mean, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And that's his kind of hobby passion. And he separates that schedule very well. It's a little bit different though for entrepreneurs, because like even myself, like last night I was on the phone, like texting somebody, and my wife was kind of looking over my shoulder, and she even jokingly was like, "Man, you talk to a lot of people." And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, and it was kind of like, how do you keep all that straight? And it's one of those where, I don't know, I enjoy like talking to people, hearing their story, but then also, talking business with them as well, and hearing like what they need or what they don't need, and kind of working with them and just kind of building that relationship. Even, I mean, if it's something that it doesn't kind of pan out to be anything, I still want to build that relationship. You never know when somebody's going to knock on your door and say, I need you to help me with this.
Yeah,
I need
absolutely.
You to, so
it's all about relationships.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about owning a business and not just punching a time clock is it's a little scary to the fact of, well, you don't have a steady income to count on. And 2, like you have employees who have families and are dependent upon you being successful and being able to pay their bills. So, I mean, like, you know, when COVID hit and stuff like that, and they didn't know if realtors were going to be on the list of necessary workers or if you could work or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember like going and laying on my bed like, oh, what am I going to do? Yes, I specifically remember that. I mean, that was scary.
Yeah, and I think maybe the best way to kind of approach something like that, maybe like be upfront and honest with everybody. Yeah. And that's, you know, I feel like, I mean, we've worked together for 10 months now? It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, we communicate back and forth. And I feel like that's the best way of doing it, is because saying, I don't know, or let me look into it, is a good answer. Like, instead of kind of going like the, you know, not sure, kind of playing it safe, transparency is the key.
Communication. Yeah. And it's just like, if, you know, you're doing my videos, if there's something like I like or I don't like, then I'm going to let you know so we can do more or less of it. And, you know, I've been in transactions where afterwards, somebody who I really know and trust is like, you know what? I kind of feel like you didn't really explain such and such to me. And as soon as she said that, I took that to heart, and I'm like, I'm going to go make a video about when you're listing your house, because I am not explaining the process thoroughly enough. And I'm going to send this to everyone who lists their house with me. So like, I take that constructive feedback and use it, not like, you know, get upset or offended. Like, at least she told me and didn't like post a negative review somewhere. Like,
yeah. And having that kind of set from the beginning, right? And I kind of feel you probably set that tone with your clients, right? You
like, I want to know, how did I do?
Good, bad, or ugly? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I think that helps. I don't know. For me, it helps in business, you know, because having that transparency is always a positive.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go off, not off track, but kind of switch topics really quick. So you've been in real estate, whether just a real estate agent, brokerage, for a very long time, which is impressive, because I feel like there's people that try it, they don't like it, and they find something else.
Yeah.
What has been that consistent factor that you've seen through all the years, whether it be, you know, relationships, you know, kind of walk me through what you've seen as kind of help you get to this point.
So I see a lot of people, or I'll have people come to me. I'm interested in getting my real estate license. I love houses and I love decorating and such and such. Well, I don't love houses and I don't love decorating. Like, I got into this business. I actually went to college for social work. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to help people. I knew that in church, I wanted to do helping many missions projects that we did. I went away to like Bahamas Methodist Habitat, and we built houses over there. Like, I want to do just helping projects, like I have a servant's heart for community service, all of that. So I just thought I'll get into social work. So I went to college for that, and I'm not the school study test taking type. No. So did not make it. Right, don't have a college degree. Came home to Strasbourg, and it didn't take me long to realize, like, oh, well, I'm just good at this because I am listening to my clients. I honestly have relationships for them. I truly care about them. All I'm doing is trying to facilitate and help them to relieve their stress, to let them know what's coming up next. So I realized that early in that, oh, I'm good at this, and I'm going to be good at this because, well, one, I do like learning and knowing all the latest and greatest with real estate and education and new laws. And two, it's all about, like, I do care about these people and helping walk them through this process. And that's what makes me successful at it, is truly just the relationships.
And it's an important part of business, right? That's it makes a lot of sense, because I think that's with things changing, right? Yeah. Technology, resources, different avenues of getting leads, right? Different marketing strategies, right? When you first started, I don't think you would think about posting short form videos on Facebook, right?
So, and maybe that's helped too, because I've always been up for whatever the next thing is.
Kind of staying in front of the innovation of real estate. But kind of going off of what your point was, is keeping those relationships, that's like the consistent part of it. Okay, that kind of leads me right into my next kind of question I wanted to go. And I kind of know the answer already.
Okay.
Just because, this isn't the first time talking to you.
Yeah.
What do you do as far as generating leads, right? As far as marketing, right? How you get yourself out there. I know you do a lot with Mayfest, which I think that you use it to your advantage in real estate, but I think I could be speaking for you, but
what's like, I do these things because I enjoy them, but like I get to see and meet a lot of people along the way.
It's a 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, and like they will ask me real estate questions when I'm out and about, but the difference in like my leads and my sales, there's so many agents out there paying for leads. I mean, there's tons of sites, Zillow, realtor.com. I don't pay for leads. So all of my business is referral based. It's all my sphere of influence, meaning anybody that I know or went to high school with or go to church with, or I'm on any of these committees with, and they've either came to me or they've sent their friend, family member, coworker to me.
Because they trust you.
Yeah, because they trust me. Or it's past people I've sold to, and then they're coming back to me, or they're sending their friends, family members, coworkers to me. So, I mean, I had 5 listing appointments in 4 days from over the weekend. So that was all. That's just my phone rings, and I'm very grateful and thankful for it. And I know a lot of it comes from staying out there and marketing online, in the papers, but also it's just good old-fashioned customer service and doing a good job for my clients and having the repeat business and the referral business.
Yeah, I think from a business perspective, right, not just real estate, having your easiest next client is somebody that is pushing your business, somebody that you've worked with that is putting you in front of the next person, because I feel like it cuts down on the hi, I'm mad, I'm with her.
It's almost a built-in trust immediately because they were sent to me by somebody that they trust.
And if how many, I have some friends I probably wouldn't trust with crazy business stuff, but if somebody that group that I have that like, hey, you should reach out to this person or this is the way to go, I get that same feeling of then no.
Yeah. And think of how much we recommend, I don't know, like a doctor we like, or a house cleaner we like, or a power washer we like. We like to give recommendations when we're satisfied with the way somebody does a job.
Yeah. The funniest part about that whole thing is I sometimes have people like, I hope you don't mind, I gave your information. Somebody was interested and I gave your information. I was like, please do put it everywhere. I don't, or the, it's funny. So my wife's grandfather, he was here for my daughter's birthday and he was like, hey, I just wanted to check with you. Are you okay with me sharing your video? Like the stuff that I post? I was like, share it twice. I don't you put it. I have no problem with it. And it's one of those where kind of what you're talking about is that helps that initial breakthrough conversation of they build that trust with you so quickly, or they come into it already trusting you because of that referral. And as long as you're consistent with your customer service and building that relationship, it'll kind of snowball into the next person.
And I take the time to write thank you notes to each and every one of those people when they send a client my way, whether it even pans out or not. I send them a note letting them know, thanks for sending me Sally. I really appreciate you recommending me and keeping me top of mind. So I just want to make sure they know that I am thankful.
Yeah.
And that is part of the reason for the success of my business.
And along with that, you also do a little bit of marketing as well. I'm hip to some of that. So where do you kind of see, or where have you seen, I guess going past tense, the kind of turning of the tide of traditional mailers, billboard, whatever. And now I feel like we're kind of really getting into a social media heavy presence.
So I feel like I've always been involved on social media. And before Facebook even had business pages, I was just on my personal page. Let me video this house. Like, gosh, it had to be like 2007 or something. So I was into that like a long time before it became popular. And I'm always just trying to go with like the newest thing. I remember there was, one point in time when I was like the youngest in my office at Preslee Real Estate and Blackberries came out. Oh, wow. And I remember like we had our monthly office meeting and I'm like, look at what we have. This has email on it. Like, this is so cool. Like technology. Before the iPhone. So they were all like, why would you want that? People are going to be bothering you all the time. And I'm like, no, this is freedom. Like I can take my kids to the movies and check my email while I'm not home on my desktop computer. Yeah. So I'm always trying to go with the latest and greatest in technology. And I mean, I am a little nervous. I'm 42 now. Thankfully, I have like a 22-year-old who can keep me up on all of the newest stuff so I don't get left behind. But I'm always down to try whatever. So a lot of agents are really afraid to do video. And I mean, I don't always want to watch myself back. I don't like how I look. I don't like how I sound. Like we're most critical of ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just do it anyway.
Well, and that's the thing is, the funny part is, you don't have to watch yourself. You just want other people to watch yourself. Yeah. And that's the important thing is getting out there, right? And being top of mind, being relevant, making sure that people understand that you are still in the business, obviously, but also that you're up to date on the business, right? You're keeping up on the things that are going on. And I think a strong way of doing that is through social media, through posting, not just video, right? I think you guys do a really good job of mixing up the kind of content you do. And if I remember when I initially sat down with you, I said, keep doing what you're doing. I feel like I can just help you plug these pieces in to kind of
Well, I mean, you've kind of taught me that like you need short form for some people who like that. You need long form for some people that want something more in depth. Like you have to keep mixing it up and doing all the things, not just zoning in on one thing.
So I think, kind of like what we're saying is, staying on top of new information, right? Staying relevant, making sure that you're showing that you are on top of your game, right? With real estate, knowing what's going on, right? Not just, like, oh, I'm a real estate agent hanging out. Yeah. You're doing your research. You're staying, I know you guys also have to do a lot of yearly trainings and
legal
tests.
Updates and all those things.
But okay, so let me ask you this. So going into, there's a lot of talks about NAR and all the craziness that's going on with that. So kind of take me through your process of like, not so much the details, right? But how do you keep up? Yeah, like how do you keep up with that kind of stuff?
So we get a lot of email updates and a lot of things from National Association of Realtors, Virginia Realtors. And like, I feel like it's my duty to read it and know it and, give synopsis to like my agents and to the public, because when it first started coming out and the news started coming on, I was like, whoa, like the news isn't right. They're not like saying what's happening. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh. And, it shouldn't be shocking that the media is not always correct.
Yeah.
But
or they're spinning it to sound a little bit more.
The first things I saw them say was breaking news: realtor commissions are slashed. Standard 6% is now cut in half. No more paying buyer agents commission. So I was like, this isn't even what they're saying with the lawsuit. So like what the lawsuit was saying was that sellers weren't aware that they could negotiate commissions. Like there isn't a standard. There could be an average, but you can negotiate it. Like, there may be, I have some on the books as low as 4 and others on the books as high as 10. And that's either based off of, what I'm selling, the price of it, how much marketing I'm putting into it. So there isn't a standard. And sellers have always had the decision not to pay the half to go to the buyer's agent, but they have because we've recommended it because the buyers are coming up with down payment. I mean, you just went through this. Yeah. Down payment, closing cost, home inspection, appraisal. So the buyers didn't always have that money to pay a buyer's agent, while the seller was selling their house, making a profit, and had the money to pay the commission.
Yeah. Ideally, right. So it's funny. So we talk a lot about different things that are going on, right? Because we're trying to talk about different topics we want to talk about. And I think it was the last time we filmed, or when we went over all the NAR stuff, you kind of said a couple of those things, and I was like, hold on a sec, I just went through this, or I'm going through it, and like, I didn't even know this. And I'm not saying it in a negative way, but I think there's a lot of,
there needs to be more education on it,
and
consumers.
Then also, like you said, the news kind of spun it to sound like there's this crazy change going on, and it's more, I feel like it's more, they're just trying to educate more on what the options are.
Yes.
And I don't want to say I'm a total, like, I had no idea. I did know that commissions kind of fluctuate. I know that, like, with agents, you have your standard, but there is a little bit of wiggle room if you need to. But same thing. So, like, when we sold our house, I was more happy about the amount we were getting after all of that. I was like, I'm not worried. Like, I know, and coming from a business standpoint, I know it costs to do things, right? You have, it's funny that agents do more than I think people realize, as far as, like, they're not just walking you through a house and then going to hang out with their friends after, right? They're always doing research. Well, the good ones are. They're always doing research. They're always doing,
helping you negotiate price, inspections.
So whatever that fee is, right? I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
With selling, right? Because my understanding is you're going to try to get the most for me.
Yeah.
So why not make sure that I'm making sure it's worth it on your end? Because if it's obviously a percentage, if the number goes up, like, you have a little bit of incentive to make it work.
Yeah.
And then as far as buying, I'm not worried about it, because, I mean, that's all on that,
Right.
But
but I think this is going to change, like, when people go to buy, we're going to have the buyer agency agreement in front of them before we even, like, open a door for them. Like, here's an agreement saying what I do for you and how I'm going to be compensated. So that's going to be a change with the settlement. So that wasn't always done. We would do it, when we did the offer. Let's get this buyer representation agreement signed. Now it's going to be before.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just going to flip up the order,
which should be a good thing.
Well, yeah, and I think
more understanding and
more transparency, right? And again, I don't think, and I'm coming out of, I'm way out of my territory here, right? I am, put the disclosure on the screen, whatever. I feel like the agents that have been doing this for a while, it's not, we're not sweating really, it. And that's the kind of feeling I got, especially with talking with a couple of the agents that have been in the business for a while that I'm close with. Is they're like, oh yeah, it's just another thing that I gotta keep up on, but they're not losing sleep over it, which is reassuring on the agent side. So what does that look like on your end, as far as, now we're going to go back to, the brokerage, the business side. So do you kind of help your agents make sure that they're up to speed with this information?
Yeah, we just did a big training session the Friday before last. It was like 8:30 to 2:30, and I had my sister in for that because she's a Northern Virginia agent. And a lot of times they're a little ahead of us with their policies and procedures. So she's been doing buyer agency agreements her whole 3 years in business before she shows a home to somebody. So here we all are in the Shenandoah Valley, like, but they've been doing it. So I was
worry about it. Yeah,
I was like, help my agents, like, tell them how a scenario is going to go out, maybe some objections they may face. So she did a little spiel on that, and we're practicing it so everybody can be prepared. But in regards to sellers, like, I've already had the question almost every listing appointment I go on. They'll say, what's the deal with the NAR settlement? What's changing? Yeah. And I'm like, right now it's business as usual. And even if things do change, I'm going to recommend you offer compensation to the buyer side, because I think that's going to help get your house in front of more people and get you a better offer.
Yeah. And to be honest, people that are buying, I feel like if that's the
might only want to see the house is offering.
Yeah.
So
if
they
that's
don't have
the
to
different,
come
like, say
pocket.
they found two. I mean, right now it's kind of weird because the inventory's out of whack. But if they came down to, like, two different houses, right?
Right.
They loved both of them for different reasons, but they're kind of both like, we could go either way. And that's the difference maker. That's a big difference maker.
If they're going to have to come out of pocket, $5, $6, or $7,000.
Because not only like you have your down payment, like you're saying, down payment, all the fee, like all this other stuff. And then also like, I don't know if you can, but is that something that can be rolled into, you know, your mortgage, right? If you don't have the money out of pocket, and then you're adding on to your mortgage and now you got to pay interest. Like,
I don't think you're going to be able to. I think what is going to happen is, you know, the sellers are still going to be able to offer it, and we're going to put it in the MLS under closing cost concessions that can be offered. So it won't be listed as commission anymore.
I gotcha.
But I don't think that it's going to be able to be rolled into the buyer's loans. So it would be an issue.
And I think to save a small amount on the grand picture of, you know, is that worth going through that? And some people might argue that it is. Some people might argue that it's not. Me, I'm like, look, I want everybody to be happy. Right? I want the seller's agent, the buyer's agent. I want everybody to walk away feeling like everybody, because that's, you know, the name of the game. But again, I'm not an agent. I'm just, you know, the guy that's going through the whole process. Anyway.
Well, and a lot of the times it's like you even out, because a lot of the times you're selling a house and you're buying a house also. Yeah. So what does it matter if you're paying everything on the sales end versus half on the sales and half on the buy? Like, it's going to even out.
Yeah. No, and that makes perfect sense, because, you know, it'd be really kind of funny to have you go through the selling process and make this big stink and then turn around and you have to go through the buying process, and you're like, well, all that for nothing. So that does bring up a good point as well. So how do you kind of pass this information to, you know, potential like clients or people that you talk with? Do you kind of say, you know, I know you said like you're kind of switching up the order of what you do, but do you walk through like a full detail of like, hey, this is how we operate at Preslee?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing seller consults and buyer consults. So generally the seller consult, you're like at a listing appointment at someone's home, but the buyer consults either by Zoom or phone call or in person, and like explain like what services is you're providing and how you're getting compensated, and do that in the beginning. Like, don't just go meet someone at a house without laying all this out.
Yeah. It might make the process a little bit longer because you want to kind of get through that. And I mean, when we were ready to sell, we were like, we're ready to get out of here. Like because, you know, you crunch numbers and you figure out once everything's done and you're through the process, what you're going to, you know, essentially see in your bank account. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm get everything out of here. Let's move, double time. Yeah. But realistically, taking that extra step will just make everything smoother on the client side.
And I like to do you have a lot of stuff in writing, and then a lot of stuff I have videos on. And I like to do both, because some people are more like, you know, auditory learners, and then other people pick it up by reading it. So, you know, a lot of my like, congrats, we're under contract will be an email and a video, because depending on what they prefer.
I'm skipping all the reading. I'm going right to the video.
Yeah, right.
Just walk me through. Tell me what I need to know. Yeah. I might critique the video a little bit. No. No. So that's interesting. So where do you see 2024 going? You know, for Preslee, and then also for Abby, right? Is it something? Where do you see it?
I think everything just keeps getting better and better. With our business, Jamie and I keep learning more as we go. It gets into his groove. I get into my groove. I feel like agents and employees, the more you get your personality out there and the way you do business, the more people will either gravitate towards you or away from you that align with your business module. And there's tons of brokerages out there, and there's lots of good ones, but we all offer different things and we all have a different way of doing business. So I think 3 years in, then we're finally seeing that like ebb and flow of people come and go, and we're just getting to a sweet spot of it's a good vibe. Yeah. And I think 2024 is going to be the best year yet.
Good. Yeah. Speak it into existence. You know, and I don't know, having a good attitude with it, because I feel like, I don't know, real estate for the past pre-COVID 4 or 5 years has really done like a up,
It
down,
has.
left,
It's been a roller
right.
coaster.
It has been all over
Mhm.
where, and I don't know, because we were smart and got into buying our first house right before COVID. Then
Yeah.
we sold during COVID,
Yeah.
and now we're in the construction, out, so I'm like, this might be the normal. I don't know. Like,
I mean, I was here for the 2005 to 2010
oh,
roller
that's right.
coaster,
Yeah.
and that was just as far up and down as this one. So it's like
I'm used to
everything,
it.
it's cycles. I'm used to it. It does freak a lot of people out. But you just hang in there and have a positive outlook, keep providing great customer service, and keep up with your relationships.
Yeah.
And all will be well.
And you can do that through many different ways. Marketing,
Yeah.
face-to-face, all the fun stuff.
Mhm.
That's good. It's a good way to think about it also, because if you keep, just keep on keeping on, right? And you
Yeah.
keep going, I don't want to say going through the motions, but
Mhm.
if you keep doing the things,
Consistency, yeah.
the consistency,
Yeah.
it will come back, it will
Mhm.
swing back to normal. I think that happens a lot, not as drastically, but also in business, right? I see
Yeah.
it for myself. Like there's some months I'm like, holy smokes,
Mhm.
I can't keep up. And then there's other months where I'm like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
still here. But
Yeah.
again, staying consistent, getting through, and kind of just keep on, that course.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, making sure that all your relationships are
Mhm.
maintained and,
Yeah.
touching base with everybody. It's really fun. So I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Yeah.
I feel like this was interesting.
Yeah.
I've learned a little bit more about Preslee and how you guys operate.
I'll
and
interview you next.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'll be in the hot seat for sure. It's very fun. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I am going to put all your information,
Okay.
all the fun stuff down in
Appreciate
the
it.
descriptions, all the,
Okay.
tag you and everything.
Great.
But yeah, cool. All right, guys.
All right.
See you next time.